Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to my thoughts on Sugar City Con 2015. Now, pretty much most of this is going to be positive because our thoughts and experiences is all you can really say with an event. Um, I actually got there late on day one because this year it was actually a 2-day event, which I thought was pretty smart, and it was in a different venue. It was in the local showgrounds instead of the PCYC like last year because last year I don't think they expected as many people as showed up to show up. So it was a bit crowded last year. Luckily, with the venue they went with this time, it was a hell of a lot more spread out. So I hope they actually stick to the showgrounds because it worked pretty well. Um, I got there late and without a camera because I'm an idiot. And what ended up happening was I thought that I'd missed the start of the Paul Eating panel, which happened. Paul Eating was there for both those days. For those people who aren't aware of him by name, he voiced grandpa, like as far as the most notable voices for me, anyway. For him, Grandpa Max in Ben 10, like everything Ben 10, even video games, and Colonel Roy Campbell in the Metal Gear Solid series. uh, so yeah, I was there for that panel, asked a question, hands are fucking shaking. Like, I'm surprised. It's a good thing they had a mic, because otherwise I would have been way too quiet. um, yeah, the panel was interesting. Um, unfortunately, not a hell of a lot of people showed up to it. I mean, people showed up later. Um, and like sort of stood in the back. But yeah, like because I got there late, so I thought I'd miss the start of it because it was supposed to start at 10:30, but I guess it was purely because not all that many people showed up that they were just waiting around for a bit. They were going overtime because you might as well actually wait to see if people show up. And I felt really bad because it's like, oh, come on, guys. This is like, arguably, I mean, I don't know how well known the comic related guys are there, but this was arguably the most notable celebrity to come to this sort of thing in Australia. Well, okay, not in Australia, in regional places. Like, this dude is a minor celebrity. Like, for fuck's sake, what are you people doing? Even if you don't give a shit, it's like, come on. I don't really watch Ben 10 much, but it was still like, hey, this is really cool. Um, I kind of wish I got a photo with him or something. Oh well, my own stupid fault. Um, so yeah, his panel was cool. I meant to try and have a chat with him after, but I'm too much of a chicken. Um, then after that, I basically just wandered around and tried taking photos of people, like, you know, actually asking them, which is half my problem. I, as a sort of show of goodwill, I guess, or something, I don't know. Generally, a personal rule, I will not take photos of people unless it's like, hey, let's get all together for a group photo, which I didn't take advantage of. Um, I don't get a photo of people unless I specifically ask them. Outside of, as I said, they're just getting together as a group thing. So I didn't take any photos of any cosplayers on stage, which I almost think I might as well have, because it was like, here's a photo op, and it's like, God damn it, why didn't I get closer to take advantage of that? Oh well. Later on in the day, there was another panel that I went to for the author that they had there, or one of, I think they had a few technically. They had like 2 or 3 authors, I think. But specifically an author called George Ivanov. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Had a panel as well. And there was even less people at his. And I was like, come on, people. There has to be, can't be the only person interested in creative writing in Mackay. I mean, I wasn't the only one there, but there was like the tiniest amount of people. And then there were people that would sort of come in, notice that there was shit all people, I guess. And, oh, damn it, I didn't want to swear. Sugar City Con's a family event. I didn't want to swear in this video. Oh, well, too late. I'll try not to, but, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, there were bugger all people there. And that really pissed me off. That no one really, like, I had no idea who this guy was, okay? Before this event happened. Like, outside of watching the video that they had him do to promote himself to the con goers, I had no idea who this guy was. But I didn't care because he was an author. And I'm an amateur writer. So this was like, yes, I can go to a panel of an actual professional writer. Hooray! This like made my fucking weekend. Even like later in the day, I had like a conversation with him, which honestly, to be fair, was probably just me bugging the shit out of him by talking about ideas I have and like not really going into too much detail, but just generally like just talking about stuff that I've wanted to write about or whatever. And eventually ended up just buying one of his books because I was like, you know what? Why not? Because I had the money, because I had like $50 on me. I bought a Luigi cap from, oh God, you know what? I cannot remember, but the store was only selling caps. So if anyone remembers who they were, please comment that, because if they have a Facebook page, I'll probably link them. Someone actually tried to steal something from them, the little bastards. When I was there, like looking through all the caps, like someone was either trying to steal something from them or steal something from someone else. And it was like, those little thieving shits. Again, sorry for language. Like normally I don't care about swearing, but this is a family friendly event. I tried to not swear, but anyway. All the stalls look pretty great, but being someone who didn't really have much money, I kind of missed out. Like I still looked around, probably too much. I think half the time I was just sort of looking around just for something to do. I kind of wish I'd talked to more of the vendors, even though I knew I wasn't going to buy anything from them. And even just buying something from George Ivanov was just like, not really a spur of the moment decision, but I figured, you know what? Why not? So I bought one of his You Choose books, which I have yet to start reading, but I am going to read at some point. I mean, it's a fairly short book, so why not? It only cost me $15. And I know it's aimed at like kids, but I figured this guy seems like the kind of guy who would not treat kids like idiots. He seems like this guy is going to write something that entertains him, but is appropriate for children, basically. So, writing something that if I gave this book to my dad, he'd enjoy it, sort of thing. Um, or something like Holes, I guess. Holes is a book that I guess isn't really aimed at small children or anything, but it's. I could probably go back and read that now if I had a copy, and enjoy it, despite the fact that it's aimed at like early teens, I guess. Now my dog's set off. Anyway, what else was there? Well, there's an anime screening I didn't go to the first day. Pretty much just got a bunch of photos, and thank you, by the way, to any cosplayers over the 2 days, even though I only got one photo on day 2, that I got photos of, because I've said it previously, but I am that shy that despite the fact that I will not take a photo of someone unless I ask them, again, outside of the let's all get together as a group so we can get a massive group photo thing. Outside of that, it's like I have, I don't really want to say crippling social anxiety, but I guess that's the easiest way to sum it up really easily, because like shy doesn't really cut it when it takes every fiber of your being to willingly communicate with someone, even if it's just the quick, hey, can I get a photo of you? Because, like, I don't know why, I'm less shy now than I was in, like, high school and primary school. But I still have that friggin' issue. And it really bothers me, but at the same time, that's the benefit of having a camera on me. It forces me to talk to people. And at the end of the day, I ended up having a very long conversation with someone. And generally, I'm proud of myself for that. I had 2 conversations with 2 people that I've probably interacted with on Facebook before, but otherwise have never talked to previously in person. There was a guy there as Anakin Skywalker, but like, basically he's become wait, no. Well, I guess you'd either say Attack of the Clones because of his hair. So really it's like, it's between that and Revenge of the Sith, but just didn't have like the long hair wig, which I don't blame him. It was that windy. We got into a discussion about how neither of us have really big issues with the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, and that we both essentially do not really find them to be as bad as everyone else makes them out to be. Like, we like the original trilogy as well, and probably think, well, yeah, for the most part, it probably is better or something. But we both basically agreed that it's like, it's really annoying that people crap all over those movies. Like, yeah, there are problems, but there's problems in the original trilogy to begin with. So, bugger you. We also got, and then I got like just as I think that was before they were having a conversation. I was just sort of standing there listening. because I didn't want to intrude in the conversation. Just as they were about to leave, I managed to get a photo of them doing something that was essentially reminiscent of a scene in Revenge of the Sith, where it's part of the Anakin Obi-Wan fight where they're basically at a stalemate and then go to force push each other. Which I'll probably put a link in the description to the photos that I did take on like DeviantArt most likely. And at the very end of the day, I had a conversation that lasted so long that we pretty much had to get kicked out of the event because it was almost 6 o'clock and the event finished at 5:30. Like we'd started talking at like 5 o'clock after I'd taken some photos of generally these other people, but he was there as well, so he kind of inserted himself into one, and I didn't mind because he was just kind of there, and he was like, "Oh, why not?" And I was like, it actually seemed kind of funny, so instead of trying to crop him out as much as possible, I actually moved him more into frame before taking the photo. um, uh, but yeah, we got into like an extended conversation about Power Rangers at first, I think, and a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh because he was cosplaying as specifically, I guess you'd say Yami Marek. um, and then, or like just Marek or Yami Marek. I think when I posted the photo on DeviantArt, I specified Yami Marek just for the hell of it. And then we got into a long, drawn-out conversation about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Briefly GT as well, but mainly those two, and the new movies, and very briefly about Dragon Ball Super because I haven't watched that yet, and I probably won't until they dub it. So yeah, and that was the end of day one. I left when it was dark enough that there's no way I would have got sunburned. The sun was still kind of out, but not really. That was really funny that last year I had to leave like an hour or so before it ended, I think, because I'd been awake for over 24 hours. This time, oh, this time I'd been there since like 10:30 or whatever, and I'd been awake since like 4 in the morning, and I don't think I was tired until I got home, but I generally stuck it out and was there the whole day, and I don't regret being there the whole day. Was there much to do outside of, like, for someone like me who's a social retard, was there much to actually do when you can't bring your, well, when you're that shy that you won't really willingly interact with people unless you really power through and use every fiber in your being to do so. But even the one sort of brief-ish conversation I had, and then later the extended conversation I had, made the day worth it for me, as well as generally the panels I went to. On the second day, there wasn't as much because it's like, well, I've already looked at all these stalls like 20 times and I don't have money today. Like, all I had was like $5 in case I was hungry. So, like, I still did look around, but, it's like, I guess it's kind of well, maybe they might have something different, but at the same time, it was also, well, maybe I'm just doing this to humor myself. um, it rained as well. Luckily, they were undercover anyway. But like just as we got there, which was about 10:30, because my sister brought me this time, whereas my dad had dropped me off the previous day. My sister wanted to go on Sunday, so basically she just ended up taking me. Um, I I don't regret going Sunday. Like there was not as many people, but I still don't regret going for the simple fact there was the George Ivanov writing workshop, which initially I thought was just for like kids to teens. But they like just as we were about to head over to the 500 pavilion and check out whatever the hell was going on there, I hear over the speakers, but it's like, yes, it's more aimed at that age range, but we don't really care. Like, no matter what age you are, you can still go. So I was like, okay then. Immediately decide, okay then, I'm going doing that. At first, I was the only person over the age of 15 there, let alone 20. But I think me being there encouraged other older people to show up. Um, but it was really fun. He made it really fun, even though he was mainly kind of acting like all he had was kids in front of him. He was still really fun, really funny. The story that we came up with as a group, some of those kids, holy crap, some of those kids could think up stuff so quick. Whereas I had to struggle to think of certain things when he was asking, like, okay, now what's the next problem that this character's got to get through? Because it's fucking hilarious. Some of the stuff these kids came up with. Like, for one thing, when he asked for a name, uh, the kid that ended up giving him a name was uh, ended up coming up with Elektra, which I think he got it from the comic book character, but maybe he just pulled it out of nowhere. And that was interesting to George because he was like, wow, that's interesting. I usually get really generic names. um, and then made her for because like the idea was okay, we've got a character now. Her name's Electra. She's 14. Um, and they say it was like where is she? And one of the other kids says jail. So it's like okay, she's in juvie prison. so, so that was funny. It's like okay, why is she there? And I was just thinking of stereotypical, oh, she kicked the crap out of someone at school. I don't know. It's some kid comes up with she blew up her parents' house. That's so funny. Oh god, I got a good chuckle out of that. And and then it's a case of okay, she's in juvie, so the end goal is to escape. She tries to dig her way out, and then she can't. So one of the kids comes up with like generally my contribution to that was she's trying to get out, but they needed another obstacle, so I shouted out that the prison has gone into lockdown. And then from that, another kid comes up with how she escapes is she flushes herself down a giant toilet. It's like it's silly, but it's so funny. Like, and then she has to like get stuck in the pipes or something and has to dig her way out of that. And it's like, wow, this actually isn't that bad. Like, even George was like, oh, it is a bit silly, but it's interesting it's still, yeah, it's like, it's still interesting and it's still better than just she's there and then she almost immediately escapes. Like, I hope those kids actually pursue writing because, damn, some of them had really good ideas. um, to the point that even some of the ideas I came up with that didn't get used because he picked one of the kids was like, wow, I'm actually kind of glad he didn't because my idea wasn't as good. um, we got to keep the books that we wrote in, so that's good. Because we had to come up with like just writing exercises. Just for the hell of it, I'm actually going to read out the sentence or two that I wrote during that, because a writing exercise he did is that we had to consistently write without stopping for 2 minutes, just anything, but it had to be coherent and make sense. So just for the hell of it, I'd kind of got an idea of what I was going to write before before I started, so I technically was cheating. Um, but and I'm a slow writer, so I only really got one or two sentences. Um, but I wrote, once upon a time, a little kid named Bill was walking down the street when suddenly a UFO crash landed in the center of town and crushed the town. Technically, I didn't get the second town down outside the time limit, but I wrote it down later anyway because it's like, fuck it, might as well make a complete sentence. um, but yeah, that was really fun. Uh, the only photo I got on day 2 was of a Sailor Moon cosplayer who came second in the competition. I'd meant to get a photo of her the previous day, but I wussed out. Because like I'm already nervous around people and shy around people that I don't know, to the fact that I can't. Something in me does not allow me to communicate, and I have to really power through that. It is way worse around women. Uh, and like the funny thing is, I'm bisexual, so it's not necessarily an attraction thing. Um, it's just generally I always have seemed to be way more nervous around women anyway. I think part of it is I think I might accidentally say something inappropriate. I don't know. Um, like as much as I wanted to say, "Wow, your outfit's cool. You look great." Part of me thinks that might come out wrong and might sound pervy or something like that. So I just avoid saying it. I'll say it on Facebook or something, but I can't say it to their face, which sucks. But uh, I didn't like, now that I actually took photos, I think I might as well actually talk about cosplay because I kind of briefly did before. Um, the winner of the competition overall was a woman as a character from Fallout. I forget if it was a specific Fallout. Um, but yeah, and the Sailor Moon cosplayer I got a photo of came second, and third was a Princess Mononoke cosplayer. Um, and like I might as well just as something to end this with because I'm really stretching for stuff to talk about. Um, photos I regret not getting. Gotham City Sirens photo on day 1. I got a picture of the guy that was there as a male Poison Ivy, uh, with the guest cosplayer that was there, Twerkin Gherkin, who was there as like a traditional Harley Quinn, complete with a mallet. Uh, Pardon all the coughing, by the way. I've got a sore throat. I got a photo of them two, but I wanted a photo of them two and Vicky Vic when she was doing Catwoman on day one. So, and like Evie Dantes as well, which I got a photo of her anyway, in with someone I know, someone I've got to know kind of over the past few months, because he was there as Ron Weasley. So it occurred to me, wait a minute, there's two Poison Ivies here and a Ron Weasley. So I made them do a photo where it looked like the two Poison Ivies are trying to break Ron's wands as a reference to the Whomping Willow, basically. And then even Evie had her own idea for a photo, which is the one that the Marek cosplayer sort of jumped into, and I didn't mind, so I actually brought him into the photo more. And the Ron cosplayer's face is just priceless in that one. Like, I love both of those photos. And his nope face is just so fucking great. Um, um, there was a girl on day 2 who was part of the competition who made it to the final 5 or 6. I forget exactly how many there were. Day 1, she was a character from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And the outfit was cool, but I don't really care about the show. And for the most part, I try to stick to stuff that I actually know and have some interest in, even if the outfits are cool. It's like, I'll tell them the outfit is cool, but, won't prioritize trying to get a photo. Day 2, she was Katana. And there was a Sub-Zero wandering around. I wanted to get a photo of them too, but when I thought about it, the girl was on stage. And when I finally was like, okay, I'm going to try and make this happen, the Sub-Zero cosplayer had either left or I couldn't find the girl anywhere or whatever. Just, I missed my opportunity, basically. I actually had a similar thing where I wanted to get a photo of one of the Leatherfaces, because I think there was 2. I could be wrong, but I think there was 2 running around. And the Jason Voorhees cosplayer. I wanted to get a sort of Jason versus Leatherface photo. Missed out on that. I hope someone did. I really hope someone got a photo of those 2 together. Ugh. Anyway, there's a bunch. If I keep listing off everything, it'll take forever. Now, here's the point in the video where I give the very minimal, sort of, in this case, it's just constructive criticism, more so than flat out, well, kind of negatives, but they're not huge. Because there's only like 2 things, really. Promote stuff happening in the 500 Pavilion more next time, please. Because I knew about the George Ivanov thanks to them saying it over the mic. But I feel like that and the Paul Eating thing weren't really promoted very much. Like you'd get sort of one or two things before they happen, but not, hey, that's still going. Head over there if you're interested, that sort of thing. So generally, as long as there isn't a workshop going on, so they don't have to try and talk over you. Try and remind people leading up to it, like every, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, or 10 minutes. Just like a really quick reminder, hey, this is happening at that time. But at the same time, if you don't want to do that so you're not talking over people, especially if there's a workshop going, for people who didn't have access to a printer or people that don't have smartphones, I don't, and I'd bet that there are plenty of other people that were there that don't either, who can't just bring up Facebook on the phone. Have the schedule around the place. Or if there were, like, I don't know if there was little schedule things that you could grab. If there were, probably put them in a place where people know where they are, or just hand them out as people are going in. Just like print out a crap ton of them and hand them out as people are getting their ticket to go in, or like ask them if they want one, because then if they don't take one, it's their own fault. But I didn't really notice if there were any around. I think some people I noticed did, so I thought, oh, so there must be some somewhere or something. But I ended up figuring, well, actually, no, that person probably was smart enough to print it out and bring it with him. Yeah, pretty much that. And I think there was another thing. Though really, that might have actually covered both. I think that was about it. Yeah, pretty much. Just promote stuff on the first day, because it was about like, when is this again? Damn it. And even on the second day, there was a few stuff where they kind of promoted it, and then they like bring it up once and then like never again. Like I didn't know when the anime screenings were. I thought the comic book one had ended and the anime screenings were starting. So me and my sister headed over to the 500 Pavilion, and I'm guessing for the same reason every other panel started late, lack of people. This one also ran like 50 minutes over because they would have started 50 minutes late, and then the anime screenings started pretty much immediately. Or at least, you know, they waited for the guests to leave, cleared all the stuff out of the way, and the anime screenings started. Which I feel like that was that advertised, because I don't know, because I was in the comics panel with, God, I can't even remember the names. I'm sorry. But it was the last panel of the weekend. There was a few more people there than there were for the other ones. But yeah, and then like a few people stuck around for the anime screening, others left. People sort of wandered in and out of the anime screening, which I think for the anime screening, they should have specified that had an age rating. Because this was specifically the two anime they showed that I saw, at least. Were Beyond the Boundary and No Game, No Life, both of which had some inappropriate for kids stuff, which you might say, oh, it's anime. Of course that's going to happen. But still, like maybe it was just a case of people were put off, people showed up, saw that it was in Japanese, and buggered off. But otherwise, unfortunately, there wasn't too many people there. And by the way, might be an idea to keep, I guess this is like the last constructive criticism / negative that I have. Once it started, the anime screening, all the volunteers left. That I could tell. I didn't see a single obvious volunteer there. And I'm thinking, okay, shouldn't someone be there just in case the laptop turns itself off? Or like just something goes wrong? Because, that could have happened. For all I know, it might have happened after I left. So yeah, that's a thing to note for next year, because the first year there was always someone in that room when they were screening stuff. This year they put them on. I'm not sure about day one, because I didn't go to the day one ones because I forgot they were on. Day two, they just kind of turned them on and left. And, it seems like you should have someone there at all times just in case something bad happens. Even if it's just as simple as, I don't know, two con goers getting into a fight for no reason. I don't know. Something could have happened. Yeah, that's like, it's fairly minor stuff, really. But yeah, overall, really fun. Really glad that I went to both days. And I almost wasn't going to bring this up, but I'm going to now. I got in free both days. So, and that was because the guy running it had basically offered me free tickets. It's like a free weekend pass, basically. And like hell, I was going to say no to that. So thank you very much for allowing that to, for actually doing that. It really meant a lot. I mean, I was prepared to pay, but at the same time, you get offered free tickets, you're going. You're taking advantage of that. I'm paying next year, though. I don't care if they offer it again, which they won't. But I'm definitely paying next year because it would have been totally worth it. I would have easily paid $30 for that because that is way more. It's like, that is a damn bargain, okay? That much stuff over 2 days, $30. Or like 35 if you just buy, get tickets on the way in on Saturday and then tickets on the way in on Sunday. But the weekend passes were $30. And yeah, that is value for money, okay? If they do those same prices next year, and you didn't go this year, go. Like, if they say, okay, yes, we're definitely doing that, we're pretty much always the last weekend of August, which they are, because last year I think it was 30th, 31st. Yeah, last year it was 30th, 31st. This year it was 29th, 30th. Next year it'll be 28th, 29th, I guess. But yeah, please go. Buy stuff if you can afford to, which I might have to try and save up next year, so I can actually properly look at stuff instead of just bringing $50 and buying 2 things. Generally support this stuff because this stuff is huge. Like the one last year got like well over 1,000 people. This year they apparently broke their record from last year, which they could have broken that on day one alone, really. The amount of massive humanity that was there. But luckily they were in a bigger venue, so it was very spaced out. There still were some narrow paths, but you couldn't really get around that. Because they were trying to like keep stuff all in like one side. But you know, it wasn't like squished in against everyone else. You could still get through. There was no like traffic jam sort of situations. Yeah, really fun. Can't wait till next year. Definitely going next year. Suggestions. I don't care who it is. Even if you don't want to be repetitive, if you don't want to be repetitive and bring George Ivanov back, another author who does a workshop and a panel. That would be bloody great. Aside from that, I don't really know. They didn't have tournaments this year, video game tournaments, but I can absolutely understand why. Because last year, no one cared. I was like, it was very little interest in the gaming tournament or tournaments last year, so it makes perfect sense that they didn't do that this year. Besides, I don't know where they would have done it outside of the 500 pavilion when nothing's happening in there. Unless they did like an arcade gaming tournament or something, because people were definitely interested in the arcade games. Yeah, before I keep rambling any longer, I'm going to leave it at that. So, I'm Thomas Fireheart. I will see you next time. Links in the description to the photos I took and any cosplayers that were there. If you have a page and you were actually there, whether I got a photo of you or not, give me a link to your page. I will put it in the description. I'll also put links to George Ivanov's stuff. Anything else from there that I can find. If you remember who that business was selling those caps, please tell me so I can plug them properly. Yeah, I'm Thomas Fireheart. I will see you next time.